Greetings, YouTube. Happy Saturday. It has been a pretty popular discussion behind the scenes via the Line app when several people, I almost didn't say several correctly, that's how you know it's hailing in Oklahoma right now, when several people reached out to me and said, Prof, now that you can get a 1% drop rate for 6 stars and Cavalier crystals, what do you think the going rate for 6-star shards is going to be in the contest? And I said that really, when you do the math, it should never be worse than a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning 1 unit to 1 shard. But ideally, I think now that 6 stars are becoming more common, and even as Kabam Mike has already told us, in some future cases of chapters of Act 6 required for certain paths, they really need to start lowering 6-star Hero Crystal Shards value. I'm not saying they have to make it cheap, but they certainly have to make it far more inexpensive than it has been in the past. And the best deal we have seen in the past was on July 4th, where, of course, the best part about those July 4th/Cyber Monday deals, you got the units included along with the bonus items, and the bonus item in this case for every Odin was 2,500 6-star shards, or if you divide that in half, that was 1,250 6-star shards for every $50 plus the units. This, of course, is worse. Now, of course, you do get the 4,500 Tier 5 basic Kalos fragments included with it, which is the retail standard price of Tier 5 basic Kalos fragments offered in the past because they've asked us to spend $100 or an Odin for every 9,000 Tier 5 basic, and so they just cut that in half as they cut the price in half, unless you're in one of those fun countries like Australia or Canada, where you're having to pay a lot more than that. And yes, you get 3 Greater Champion boosts. I love those things, but for $50, that is far higher of a price than you would normally spend on them. Usually it's about $29.99 for those, as you get those 3 for, say, the past deals for the new champion. Like if you were to go for Nick Fury early and have a chance for the 5-star Nick Fury, that would come with 3 Greater Champion boosts for $29.99. This is $49.99 for the same amount of Greater Champion boosts. And then gold, I always say the gold ratio for offers for cash should be 1 million for an Odin and 50,000 for Black Panther's treasure, 500,000. And this is 200,000. So the gold, pretty skimpy as well. Overall, this is clearly designed at the people who really need 6-star shards. But I gotta say, for $50, right? If you scroll over to how many units you can get, that's 1,450. That's 7 Cavalier crystals. And I know it's only a 1% drop rate, but for everybody who's Cavalier, I don't know why you wouldn't just spend those units on Cavalier crystals over taking the 1/10 6-star Hero Crystal Shard deal. Because the Tier 5 basics are not really much more than you would get in the Glory Store every week for free. The Greater Champion boost, like I said, also are usually included this much in a $30 bundle, and the gold is nothing to really brag about as well. So this is still a really crazy high price. Obviously, this is still putting a 6-star Hero Crystal at $500 because this is 1/10 of a 6-star. If you were to multiply this times 10, it would be $499.99, or the same price. You get a really nice computer. Heck, I knew a buddy that got just a fine car, right? It wasn't an amazing car, but it was a fine car to get him from point A to point B in college for $500. That is rent in quite a few towns, maybe not utilities, but rent in quite a few towns, at least for a studio apartment, maybe even a 1-bedroom. And in general, think about this from a gaming perspective, right? How much could you buy? $50 should still get you most games for a console system, but $500 should get you everything, right? The system, games, controllers, if they still do Rumble packs, I don't know, etc. But we also know that the 6-star pool is mostly trash, right? $500 for a 6-star Hulkbuster? You'd be Hulk busting my balls if that happened. It's just a terrible price, but it is a mobile video game in which they are artificially inflating the values of all their things, and if they can convince you that they are good enough to acquire, especially if you're desperate enough to get your hands on that 6-star Hulkbuster, then you might make a poor decision. I just gotta say, in general, I think at most this deal should be $29.99 in the current state of the game. And my hope every time I talk about these offers is for people actually not to buy them, because then Kabam, in an economic sense, will see that the price point is too high for the value that they're offering. And so they're either going to have to increase the value for the same price point or lower the price point. As I like to say, in instances like this, Kabam, if you're watching, it is so much smarter for you as a company to offer this deal for $29.99 and have 2 to 3 times as many people purchase it than it is to jack up the price and have less people purchase it, because you're going to make more money as a company if you sell, say, 1,000 bundles for $30, right? That's a lot more money than if you sell 200 for 50. So yeah, we also just have to say that in general, if you become Cavalier, just ignore these offers, right? Just ignore them. I also think it's a lot more fun to open crystals than it is to guarantee yourself 1/10 of a 6-star. So I'm going to give this a failing grade. This gets a failing grade, and it is another straight F. Even if you're not Cavalier, let me tell you what I would do. I would take the money that you would spend on this offer, I would put it into units worth of revives, and I would get to your initial clear of Cavalier. I get asked this all the time. I do not think it is wise to 100% complete Act 5 before you do an initial run of Act 6. I think it is much smarter to become Cavalier, get better 4-hour crystals and daily crystals, which will help you in the long run with your items, and then go back once you've initially gotten the title of Cavalier and complete Act 5 with your better Cavalier title and access to just everything better. It just makes the most sense for your progression. So there you have it, YouTube. It is hailing big time right now outside, so hopefully my car is not smashed to bits. We'll also have to spend a lot more than $500 on that offer. But until next time, have a great weekend. Thanks for watching, YouTube.